In 1776, our founding fathers met in Philadelphia and changed the world forever at the thing called the Declaration of Independence. Tonight, as we stand on the edge of our 250th year of independence, I am thrilled to declare that America is back. Our country is strong again, our country is wealthy again, and our country is safe again. America is once again a nation of self-respect, dignity, and pride. This is our heritage, this is our history, and this is the destiny of America, to be the greatest, most incredible country ever to grace the earth.
Welcome to the next generation of warfare, psychological warfare. In modern conflict, the mind is a potent weapon. Discover General Michael T. Flynn's groundbreaking guide, The Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. Unlock tactics, strategies, and the mindset to navigate this cognitive battlefield that we all find ourselves in. Equip yourself against manipulation and emerge unscathed. Unleash your potential. Order now.
How's it going, folks? Welcome to the AlphaWarrior Show. It is June 30th, 2026. It is Tuesday, which means we are part 2 of Just Alpha from yesterday. If you didn't watch it, you definitely want to catch it. It was a phenomenal show, and we'll cover the stuff that we didn't get to yesterday. Now, we're going to fly through this stuff today, ladies and gents, because at about 10:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be doing Defcon over there on Badlands. So before we get into tonight's content, I do have a special guest. So with that guest, I want to bring them on. It's a face that you guys are going to remember. Gabe, how you doing, brother? Thank you for joining us. Folks, we're talking Good Brew tonight, and that's brew, B-R-U. So goodbrew.com/alpha. That'll be the first link that you get in the description. Gabe, thanks for being here tonight, man. What do you have for us?
Oh, thanks. It's so great to be on. I appreciate being on, and always enjoy being on with all of you guys, the whole crew of you. So, haven't been on your show quite as much. We did some of the other ones, but Yeah, we're happy to be on. We know that so many people love this product, and what we have is Good Brew, spelled BRU, and it's a symbiotic organic inulin fiber, which is the kind of fiber your gut microbiome has evolved to feed on over millions of years. It's the right kind of prebiotic fiber, and combined with a probiotic called Bacillus coagulans, which together is called a symbiotic. And Bacillus coagulans is a transitory probiotic. For those of you who know a little bit about gut health and probiotics, there's what we have the colonizing microbes, and that's what we inherit from our mothers at birth. And that's also what a lot of these products on the market are trying to get into our bodies as a capsule through a pill. Problem is they die in our stomach. There's also what is called transitory probiotics. These are the kinds of probiotics that we would get digging up things from the soil and that sort of thing. They're in a spore form, so they're not affected by heat or sunlight or any of these things. But more importantly, they get through the stomach, and where they get to the lower intestine, where they germinate. And when they germinate in the lower intestine, they do a lot of things that are like helping with nutrient absorption and immune function and digestive function. But they also produce the metabolites that what we call keystone microbes, those colonizing microbes that we get from our mothers, want to survive in. So the environment in the lower intestine is created by the microbiome itself. And so these transitory probiotics are like God's way or nature's way of really supporting that lower intestinal area, so that we build up the environment like a soil amendment for our guts, to really support the microbes that we have, but might not be in the right amounts or the right ratio. So when the bad bugs take over, they create an environment that makes it very, very, very hard for the good bugs. So we have a product that survives through the stomach. It has organic inulin fiber, which has all these studies behind it. The strain of probiotic that we use has over 25 clinical studies. One thing that some of your guests might really be interested in is it's been shown specifically to increase protein utilization by up to 20%. And that's because the microbiome plays an essential role in breaking down proteins into amino acids and peptides so that the body can actually use them and absorb them. Of course, we can go on and on all night, but we're not going to do that, because I know you got a lot of stuff to talk about. And congratulations on whatever there happened. For Josh, showed some very interesting things might have happened with you guys there. So that's really, really cool too. But the gut lining is what's so important about, as far as keeping things in the gut, keeping other things out from getting outside of the gut or outside of the intestinal tract. When we get what's called leaky gut, which a lot of people in the Western world have some degree of, like the majority of people do. That's where a lot of these inflammatory diseases and chronic diseases start to come from, as they start in the gut. So dementia and heart disease and obesity and arthritis and all of these chronic diseases all are linked back to the gut. And this is well founded now, and many, many other autoimmune diseases and this sort of thing. And then there's also these complexities of things happening between the gut and then other things like medications and antibiotics and, the shot and the jab and and the pesticides and the preservatives and all of these things. So we're always fighting a constant battle in this modern world of keeping a healthy gut. Now, with our product specifically, again, we're trying to go through all of this pretty quickly. We have a very high reorder rate, and that says a lot about the product and how much people really, really like the product. There are a few specific things. The product wasn't made for any one specific thing other than better gut health, but there has been a tremendous amount of testimonials related to acid reflux and GERD and chronic constipation. So these things are some specific issues that a lot of people who use our product use it for. And then there's a much broader sense of the better, just overall better health, including we have a world-class athlete who was a lot of endurance athletes have a lot of digestive health issues because of the strain they put on their bodies. So we have this one athlete, this is just a cool story, who didn't happen too long ago. She's a distance runner and was being held back by her gut health. Within a month of using our product, she set a course record on a pretty prestigious half marathon, and then just has gone on now to do really well in a couple of other races since then. So that it gives you an idea of just how important the gut is to everything. It's important to metabolism. 90% of the serotonin in our bodies is produced in our gut. And at the same time, where that serotonin is produced by the endochromaffin cells in our intestines, what else is also regulated by those same cells is cortisol. So what's interesting is when they look at, like, say, people with PTSD, not only do they know that improving the gut health and the gut microbiome helps to relieve a lot of the symptoms of, say, PTSD or other or just general mood in general, but they also have now seen that the Veterans Association has studied this with military vets and shown that the condition of the gut at the time you experience trauma also affects whether or not how you process that trauma. So you think about, even in our day-to-day lives, we're constantly, fighting stress and these sorts of things. If your gut's in dysbiosis, you have less ability because of this imbalance of serotonin and cortisol to process trauma correctly. So I thought that was a Vietnam vet who was a retired dentist who actually pointed me towards that research as well.
That's very interesting. I mean, one thing, and I'm happy to hear it, with all this science that's, I would say it's not new science. It's a science that's been hidden from us. They have not allowed it to get out there, of that connection between the gut and the mind and how it affects the entire body. There's a question directly for you coming in from the audience, and it says, if I can find it again, question for Gabe: would your good brew help me flush out, and I'm going to try to say this correctly, Kibasiella? It's Kiebsiella, Kibasiella, if I'm saying it correctly, that was recently discovered living in my lower intestine.
Okay, so something like, well, yeah, it's not a specific thing that we can say this does that, but here's the deal with anything like that, any kind of parasite or microorganism, or a healthier gut is going to function better. I mean, and the gut is much more complicated than you think it is. The lower intestine is like just a place. The microbiome is so important that you can think of it like another organ of the body. So let's think about some things like vitamin K. Vitamin K is not, humans do not produce vitamin K anymore. Some other animals do, but our microbiome produces the vitamin K. Lots of B vitamins are produced by the microbiome. And really, one of the most important things is short chain fatty acids. The short chain fatty acids are essential for proper gut function, cellular function in the gut and the digestive tract, but also throughout the body in general. So these short chain fatty acids we rely on the gut microbiome to produce these short chain fatty acids, which then provide this fuel to all the cells in the digestive system. So if your digestive system is working better, not only are you going to protect yourself from things getting into the gut that shouldn't be there and things from getting out, but you're also going to help to move things through. And that includes a lot of toxins, a lot of like the parasites, a lot of other things that are going on. These microplastics, for example. The only thing we know to protect ourselves right now, to protect ourselves from microplastics, is to have a healthy gut, to try and just get things moving through correctly, right? And moving through. So it's not like a flush out. Although I will mention though, that's an important point. Flush out is that when you start using Good Brew, fiber, inulin fiber, everybody's guts are different. So we just start small. Most of our customers use between 1 and 2 scoops a day. I'd say most people lean towards 1. I use 2, but we have customers who only use a half a scoop. And I was talking to a lady today that actually she's at a little bit less than that, but she loves the product. It really helps her. So, and we do have a few people that use a little more than 2 scoops, but between 1 and 2 scoops for most people. But the point is when you start small, you might really have a flush out. Some people react that way, and it's because of the fiber. Other people don't. Other people don't have that reaction. And I will say also that if you're dealing with more incontinence issues, then we seem to see people use a smaller amounts. And if you're dealing with more constipation type issues, we see people, using larger amounts. And then if you're just sort of in the middle, what everybody kind of sees is just better regularity. And then they start feeling the benefits of a better and healthier gut. And you'll feel better muscle recovery over time. That's well studied with this probiotic. To
that point on the scoop amount or the serving amount, it's very interesting how a little bit of an adjustment, you noticed it. I did 1 scoop and I was like, I could take this pretty easy. So I moved it up to 2 full scoops. And I was like, okay, that's a little too much. So then I went to 1.5 scoops, and that was just perfect. So it's really cool that once you find, and there's things within your body you're going to be able to know, like if you're saying, how do you know? You're going to know with these adjustments and bowel movements and things like that, folks. And once you find that perfect measurement, you're dialed in. And you notice one thing I want to mention too. I had a customer that reached out to me, and they were taking it more as a preventative. They're like, I don't have any like issues that have been diagnosed with anything. So I'm just, he started taking it as, like I said, just a preventative, something to kind of aid him with what he's got going on.
Yeah.
And then he told me afterwards, he goes, man, I must have had issues I didn't know about, because there were certain foods that would upset him. And he knew that within a few hours of taking that, he would take those pills for like milk and stuff. Can't think of it right now. Yeah,
like the lactose intolerance,
like the lactose things.
Yeah.
And he realized, I'm not feeling an upset gut, and he hadn't taken that, so he attributes it to taking the good brew, because so I don't know if you want to speak on that.
Well, your gut is just it just goes to show. I mean, it's not about there's so much research now that supports all this, but we have all the testimonials too. I mean, so many people who are on certain medications that just don't need them as much, or not even literally, I've got testimonials of people who have been like on proton pump inhibitors and things. Now, I'm not going to say this is for every single person who's going to have the same exact result, but I can tell you that we have a lot of testimonials. For a small company, the percentage of testimonials we have is very, very high for the amount of customers that we have. And I mean, and people I know personally who I didn't know they had certain issues, and then like a week or whatever, and they're like, Gabe, I'm not even taking my proton pump inhibitors anymore. But the same thing with but it's your gut and your gut microbiome are that they're that important to every aspect of your health. And like you were saying, Big Pharma really didn't want to accept or make this for many, many years. I mean, the data was coming out, but they weren't accepting it. Now, what they're doing is buying up all the probiotic companies and all of these different things. And I will say, like, the biggest soluble fiber product on the market is owned by one of the big pharma companies. It's wheat and corn dextrin. There's not even prebiotics that we would normally get in nature. They have to be processed out. When you eat corn or eat wheat, you don't eat dextrin. Dextrin is produced from that as a synthetic product. So, and they're the biggest prebiotics on the market.
Exactly. I know exactly which one you're talking about. And there's a few other things in that one that aren't very good for you. Gabe, yeah. I gotta cut you loose here so I can jump into some of this other stuff. But before we go, anything you want to let the audience know? Make sure that they have the website. And again, I have that link down here.
Use Alpha for your discount code at checkout, or goodbrew/Alpha, and use Alpha at discount for 10% off. And remember, you can use this in coffee. I think we might have missed that whole really important point, is that other probiotics, you can't use them in hot beverages or whatever. But this is spore forming. It's well studied, survives in your coffee. You won't even taste it. You won't even know it's there. But you can put it in other things, juice or yogurt or bone broth, whatever. We mix it into water. If you put it in water, just put it in before there's ice there, because the ice will kind of freeze it. So it's very convenient to use. You won't taste it. It won't have any flavor or mess with your drink. And we have a 4th of July special running. So these two, when we run these two larges, I use Alpha to get another 10% off, which will make it about $99. This is a fantastic deal on two just by itself. But we also have, for 4th of July, this extra little bonus here, this cool 4th of July keepsake, that's a neat tumbler. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah. And the artwork's really great on this. But be gentle with it. I'm trying to work with the printers to try to get a better durability from it. But it's a really cool keepsake, and I mean the artwork is just really. I mean, it really was really nice. So it's just a free thing to go with that special. And we also have the other special that a lot of people like. It's a really good deal. It's the large and a free small. So there's two. You just go to the homepage, goodbrew, goodbrew.com/alpha, or just use Alpha at checkout. Get 10% off. The specials are on the homepage. If you already use the product, we always have the 3-pack. The 3-pack is always that's always just a regular thing on the site. And don't jump right out there and buy the 3-pack if you haven't tried the product. But if you're already a regular user, that's always a good deal, and you stock up on it and you don't have to worry about it. So I think that covers it for now. I mean, I look forward to being back on again. And
we gotta do a dedicated show. As a matter of fact, I'll connect with you on the back end, Gabe, because there's so many questions that come in, especially through in the comment section and the emails. Maybe I can bring you on and we could do just a straight Q&A show. That we can do for people and just make it completely interactive with the audience on something like that. But again, Gabe, thanks for being with us. Folks,
Yep.
Good Brew, and that's BRU.com/alpha. Use that code alpha, and I'll catch you around. Gabe, take it easy.
Sounds good. Happy 4th of July.
Happy 4th of July, brother. You guys, the stuff is phenomenal. I know I've been saying that I'm going to do a show where I'm going to show you guys everything that I take, my regiment, how I do it. I'm still going to do that. It's just we've been super, super busy. Let's get one more amazing sponsor in here from Rumble. And then after that, it is showtime because we're on the clock at, I believe, 89 minutes is where we're at right now. Patriot Cash, folks. You guys have heard me talk about these go bags. You guys understand how important these go bags are. I've carried a lot of bags, range bags, EDC bags, travel bags, you name it. And most of them, they look the part, but fall apart the second you actually put work into them. This one's different. The Patriot Cash Tactical Shoulder Bag is running MOLLE webbing across the body, meaning you can attach pouches, clips, whatever your setup calls for. And there are so many aftermarket MOLLE attachments that are pretty cool. The zippers are full length, 2 ways, actually smooth, water-resistant fabric, micro mesh padding on the back so you don't get that nasty little sweat marks on you. And it won't go and it won't show through your shirt. It's fully adjustable, which is nice. And it's designed here in the good old US of A with actual military use in mind, not just military aesthetics. Here's where it gets interesting. Check it out. Right now, Patriot Cash is doing a giveaway, 500 of these bags for free. Normal retail price on these bad boys is about $79, but you just cover the shipping, and they're stacked in also a tack right strike pocket knife on top of it. Razor sharp, compact, the kind of blade that actually earns a spot in your carry rotation, and that's also free. So, not going to oversell this. The thing speaks for itself. It's a sling bag, but it's well built from a company that actually gives a damn about quality. So right now, it costs you nothing but shipping, and that's a hard deal to argue with. So, folks, the link is down in the description, or you can scan that QR code. Get Patriot Cash, that's CACHE.com/alpha. Grab the bag, grab the knife, and go actually use it for something. That's the whole point. With that, folks, it is showtime now. I hope you guys are ready. We're going to fly through tonight, but I will slow down on some of the parts that I know are very important. So let me just get myself set up here, bring this up on the stage, put myself to the angle, and hope you guys are ready because there's a really cool part to tonight's show. Some of you have heard us talk about it, but a lot of you are like, we've heard it, but we haven't seen it. So let's start with this, getting into some general news that's happened from last night or yesterday to today. One, this is pretty cool. The White House comes out, says the future of flight is taking off. Secretary Duffy just announced huge news in bringing supersonic flights to America's skies. The golden age of travel is here. Now, this is pretty cool. For some of you that are like, I don't like flying, I'm not a fan of it, but I got to get to places. Well, here's one of those things. You still got to fly, but if we could cut some of these distances, or the time in some of these distances by half or 75%, I mean, that's pretty awesome. So if you got to be uncomfortable, instead of being uncomfortable for 6-8 hours, maybe you're only uncomfortable for about 2 hours. I'm not sure exactly how fast these things go, but from some of the things we've seen, at least in the movies, it looks like something that's pretty cool to look forward to. Some stuff that's not so good news. Our Supreme Court justices, man, it is a fight. And I know a lot of you are like, who advised our president on some of these picks? And some people say, well, it's just they're playing a role. Well, some of these roles just seem very detrimental to our society, and this is one of them. Bannon's War Room sets $2 million for selling out America. Now, when I saw that, I was like, what's he talking about? Maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe there's something to what Bannon's saying here. But Justice Amy Coney Barrett receives a $2 million advance for her book deal. And for those of you that have followed the boards, we pay attention to book deals. The terrible part about this is Amy Coney Barrett went and she sided with they can tell us all these things, defining women, all that, but they can't define a day. And I think that's the frustrating part. It's election day, not election week, not election weekend, not election month. It's election day. And Amy Coney Barrett did not side on us with this. Now, again, this pisses me off. This is something we should be concerned with. But again, before we even did the show yesterday, I told you that there were markers that were going to show that Trump's only option is going to be to declare a national emergency surrounding the infrastructure of what is our election system. This is reinforcing that, folks. I don't like this. We need to address it. We need to talk about it, but also don't go into panic mode because we got to see how this unfolds. So, yeah, man, that, we did get some wins, and I'll try to give you guys some of that. This was pretty cool right here. C3 goes out and puts, I'm assembling a team, and obviously you see some cool faces on there. You see Neo, you see Denzel Washington and Rambo and Maximus, Anonymous. Like, you see a bunch of cool people for his team that's on there. And then General Flynn would respond right under and says, you forgot one. Break the glass. Now, I've seen people in General's circle that have posted this image. I've seen where, and I'm talking about where General Flynn's in the glass and Trump has the hammer to break glass. And I've seen him comment to these things, but I don't remember him actually being the one to post it. And so is he signaling to us that he's telling Boss Man the time has come upon us where it's time to break glass? I think we're getting pretty close, because he put the shades, he put the emoji with the mask, and then he put the laughing emoji. So is he trolling it? Is he serious? I don't know, but this one it gave me a little side eye to, what are you telling us there, General? We'll find out soon, I'm sure. Cat Turd puts out time to clean house, and this is one of those ones where we have Amy Coney Barrett that gave us a loss, but then we got this one that's pretty good. Big win just moments ago at the Supreme Court in the Slaughter case, confirming presidential power in our country to remove executive branch officers and agency appointees or representatives under Article 2. The decision was long sought by United States presidents dating all the way back to the 1930s. It is such an honor to be the sitting president who won this historic and unprecedented ruling, one of the most important ever given with respect to presidential powers. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. Folks, we are going to start seeing the president giving, you're fired, you're fired, you're fired. And it's just seems poetic that the president that secures this ruling is the president that had a TV show where he got to say, you're fired. How far back do we think this movie script went? I don't know. You guys know my take on that. But from that, let's shift into the themes to the night, because we have a lot to cover. Scavino comes out and says, if you don't know, now you know. And he's quote posting his post from December 2nd of 2024. I see Morgan R0904 says, unleash General Flynn. I'm so with it. And Rock Cut says, the firing begin. I'm with you guys. And I think we are going to see it. So, but Scavino goes, if you don't know, now you know. And this is a quote post to his December 2nd, 2024 post, which read, what did John Bolton do with all his yellow notepads that he always took copious notes on in the cabinet room, Oval Office, Situation Room, traveling abroad, etc., etc., etc.? So John Bolton, who took all these copious notes, this is back in 24 when Scavino brings this to everybody's attention, and then he brings us back to, I'm going to remind you guys about this post from about almost 2 years ago. And if you don't know, now you know. In other words, this is exactly what we're talking about on his plea. Well, we talked about National Security Division, U.S. Department of Justice. Former U.S. National Security Advisor John R. Bolton II pleads guilty to violating the Espionage Act, sent top secret information on personal account allegedly hacked by Iranians. Let me play this clip for you guys.
John Bolton held a number of positions of extraordinary public trust in the United States government, culminating in being the National Security Advisor to the President of the United States. John Bolton betrayed that trust in extraordinary fashion by unlawfully retaining and unlawfully disclosing the information with which he was entrusted. Now, Kelly provided a very good summary of that today for those of you that weren't in the change of plea, and the United States will have more to say about that at sentencing. But today's plea should be a warning to anyone at any level of government that if you leak America's secrets or if you mishandle them, the United States Department of Justice, National Security Division, and our U.S. attorney partners will be there to prosecute you.
That's really good. So I'm going to jump right into the next one because they complement each other, and then I'll give you guys some thoughts on this.
This morning, just moments ago, John Robert Bolton II pled guilty in federal court to the unlawful retention of national defense information. According to the terms of the plea agreement, Mr. Bolton faces a maximum sentence of up to 5 years in prison, followed by a term of up to 3 years of supervised release. He will also pay a fine of $2.25 million and will forfeit his pension under the HIS Act. As National Security Advisor to the President of the United States, Mr. Bolton had access to and was responsible for safeguarding the most sensitive national defense information, including classified material. Mr. Bolton knew how to handle classified information, where it should be stored, how it should be stored, and with whom he could share that information. He also knew the damage to national security that could be caused by mishandling that sensitive information. Nevertheless, as Mr. Bolton just admitted, he put our national security at grave risk in violation of the law. Our system of classified information is designed to protect sensitive information that would jeopardize national security if mishandled. And the national defense information at issue in this case was classified at the highest classification levels.
Now, couple of things. I've had some people that have reached out to me and they're like, oh, for 5 years. And I'm just like, y'all are killing me, Smalls. The dude is what, 77, 78 years old? So you're talking a life sentence for this guy in the or nearly a life sentence in the condition that he's in. 2, people are like, yeah, but what about the other 17 charges, Cac, right? Well, that's how this works, folks. You know, some people will call this prosecutorial misconduct. Some other people, I think it all depends on time frames, but your DA is always going to stack the charges. That's the negotiation portion of getting people to take a plea. It's what they try to do to me. So, couple of things is, one is he pleaded guilty to a very extreme felony. 2, 5 years translates into he is talking, folks. And then again, 3, whether he gets the full 5-year sentence, which I don't think he will. I don't even think he'll get half of that, because again, this is going to go off, historically, his service to country and a bunch of things that we're all not going to agree with. But again, this is part of that plea negotiations. It's who did he fold on? When does a bird sing? I saw somebody on YouTube put that out. Shout out to you guys. See, Timothy says, exactly, Alpha. Bolton won't last very long in prison. He's not going to last very long out there in general. Anyways, the guy, if you look at him, he looks like he's in bad shape, probably because of a lot of this stress. But again, folks, the point with these people, and I said this a long time ago, so people can say, oh, you're just saying this because this is what they gave him. No, I said this back to the beginning of the presidency when everybody was calling for Pam Bondi's firing. I said, look, these people, these initial people that you see that get indicted, you're going to see them get deals you're not going to like. I said this, and I said, but that's the way this works, because these are the low-hanging fruit. We want the big players, and to get the big players, you have to make these kind of deals. That's the way this thing works out. So what our president have to say about this? He says, John Bolton, a very dumb, unbalanced, and unskilled former representative of the United States of America, just pleads guilty. Should have been just pled guilty. I wonder if that S means anything. He is a terrible person, a lunatic who only wanted to start trouble and wars, and who was a needless pusher of death and destruction wherever he went. Hopefully, he will be dealt with harshly. President DJT. And then our last one for this Bolton segment right here. In Wokeness puts out, Bolton on mishandling classified information. This is a serious crime, devastating indictment, end of Trump's career. It is, again, poetic. Poetic, I say, folks, right? If you came into this podcast today like nothing's happening and that's what got your attention, listen, I baited you in here because there's a lot happening, but we're going to get into the nothing's happening crowd. But, folks, this is poetic. Listen to what this man said years ago and think about what he just had to plead guilty to.
Then he has committed very serious crimes. This is a devastating indictment. I speak here as an alumnus of the Justice Department myself, because not only is it powerful, it's very narrowly tailored. They didn't throw everything up against the wall to see what would stick. This really is a rifle shot, and I think it should be the end of Donald Trump's political career.
Don't like that he said rifle shot and end of Donald Trump's career. And, you know, I've talked about that on some virtual town hall spaces before. And was that a signal? Whole nother conversation. Just wanted to make sure I brought that to your guys' attention. But this man has pled guilty. So get the lipstick on the target board and let's put an X through one, because he's done. With that, speaking of nothing's happening, golly, these people trying to push an agenda are failing. Breaking 911 reports, Frank Carone, former chief of staff to ex-NYC Mayor Eric Adams, his brother, and 2 others were arrested in a federal bribery probe. The indictment remains sealed, while FBI agents were also seen at the home of former NYPD Chief Jeffrey Madre as investigations examine alleged corruption involving promotions and assignments within the department. If you remember all the way back to the Eric Adams debacle, what did we tell you then? This dude is talking. And what do you know? Why are these important? Because this, folks, is what I've said on almost every podcast for the last 2 or 3 years. RICO, RICO, RICO. This is how you put nexus from one crime entity or family to another crime entity or family or person. This is how you expand those RICO cases. And the broader they get, the more people that start to fall with inside the perimeter of those RICO cases. This is solid, folks. Don't let people convince you nothing is happening. Everything is happening. Let's keep going because we ain't done. Secretary Mullins from DHS says on some, this one's hard, folks. This is going to be a hard listen, but we have to hear it. On some of the missing migrant children smuggled and sex trafficked under the Biden administration, quote, and I'm just going to play the audio. I don't feel like reading it when we already have to listen to it. This is a very tough listen, folks. And again, if you have some little ones around, you may want to cover their ears for a few minutes.
When we stepped in here, we had 450,000 kids missing. 450,000 kids that were given to sponsors that weren't vetted. No home checks. No one was going by to see if they're where they're supposed to be, not even knowing if they're in their same state, not even to see if the sponsor was who they were at all. We've recovered 147,000, and all of them didn't have to be recovered. I'm not saying all of them had recovered. Some of them were where they were supposed to be. They were with a family member, and they appeared to be doing okay. But we've had some horrific cases. There's one that's kind of been out in the media a little bit, where there's a ring of several adults that were keeping kids in an underground bunker in a dungeon. And the most horrific things that I pray to God that you guys don't have to see, because it permanently changes you. The stuff that these adults put kids as young as 2 to as old as 12 through, you can't make a horror story that bad. We've had some young ladies that we have rescued that report, and these aren't young ladies; these are girls, being raped 600 to 700 times, being locked in a hotel room, and having to service 15 to 20 men. These are girls, and I hate to use the word service, but I don't know what other you can use. They were being raped 15 to 20 times a day. Day after day after day after day after day. They didn't get holidays off. They didn't get nights off. They didn't work 8 to 5. They didn't work, Monday through Friday. They were locked in the room and highly drugged, and one male at a time, disgusting individuals coming in and raping these individuals. It is our mission. We've stood up and standing up even a bigger task force within DHS to go and find all 450,000 kids. It is my biggest passion that I have. And it should have, let me explain this too. Almost used a bad word there. What frustrates me the most is that this was preventable. And no one can argue that. This was 100% preventable. And we have perpetrators that are doing the most horrific things to kids. And as a father to 6, and 3 beautiful girls, when you see this, there's evil in the world. There's evil in the world. And we fed it. The Biden administration fed it for 4 years and took the innocent that's in my little girl's eyes, the innocence that's in our kids' eyes, that we pray to God never has to deal with this. That innocent is permanently stolen. And we're trying to just restore some type of comfort to these young girls.
Now, we highlight the part that this happened under Biden's administration, but for those of you that have been following the boards, that have been following this movement for much longer than I have, you know through your research that this has been going on for decades and decades and decades. But again, they showed us during Biden's administration that they just don't care. So again, understanding what's going on in NYC, the takedown, understanding that they've not only secured our borders, but they're going to find these kids. Here's the good news to this horrific story that we just had to listen to right now. And I posted this. Don't tell me nothing is happening. Everything is happening. Some of these people just hate America, and it shows. Fantastic work by Cash and his team. Cash reports 7,200 children rescued, a 42% increase from the previous administration, 3,500 predators and traffickers locked up, 102% increase from the previous administration. He's been doing operations like this since he was put on the job, and they have been relentless at saving these kids. I think it's upwards of 150,000 already. Let's take a listen to this video.
There's a ruthless hunt underway, and the FBI is leading the charge. The monsters preying on our kids have become the prey. By launching massive task forces across federal and local lines, they're kicking down doors and shattering trafficking networks from the inside out. Thanks to that relentless pressure, they've successfully located and rescued over 7,200 child victims. That's right, 7,200 innocent young lives saved. That's an absolutely staggering 49% increase. It means fewer broken families and a real wall of protection built around our homes. And they didn't stop at the rescues. They tracked down and locked up over 3,500 child predators and human traffickers. That's a 108% spike in arrests on our watch. It means you can sleep soundly at night knowing the absolute worst of society are off our streets and behind bars. They're even hunting the worst of the worst, apprehending 8 of the Bureau's 10 most wanted fugitives in a 17-month blitz. That's twice as many as the previous administration. There's nowhere left for these predators to hide. People can argue all they want, but the numbers don't lie. With the FBI leading the charge, the hunters are now the hunted, and our families are finally protected.
That is great news and information there. It's also part of the reason that frustrates me within our own community. There are a lot of other content creators, influencers, whatever you want to call them out there, and even some of you in the audience may subscribe to this idea. I don't. I absolutely don't. And it's the mindset that none of this is real. We're just watching a movie. All this has already been handled. I know that's not true. I have friends on these teams that are going into these dark places to fight this evil, and they can lose their life. So don't tell me that that it's already scripted out. No, it's not. Because when my friends put on the vest to go into these operations, they don't know if they're coming back. So don't tell me that it's scripted out. I saw Impartial, forgive me if I said your handle correctly in the chat, says, this makes me angry. It makes me cry. I can't imagine what's going through the minds of these children. In some documentaries and things that I've watched on this, especially with some of the kids that were abducted and trafficked in Ukraine. Very heartbreaking that some of these kids under the age of 8 years old and 7 years old, they're drugged in these things as these things happen. But some of these kids try to do things to, unalive themselves. Now think about that for a second, folks. And not to go into a dark place, but to make sure that we understand that what's happening right now is very real. How does a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, or younger child even know about that? To even consider that? That's the innocence that they're a part of. So again, do I believe the Patriots are in control? Absolutely. Do I trust the plan? I do, because I have a good assessment of what I think it is. Do I think we, as the good guys, the white hats, do I think they have an understanding what the final outcome looks like? Yes. Do I think that there are a 500,000 pathways to there and then another 500,000 contingencies on top of that? Yes. And as long as there's contingencies and as long as the deep state can pick different routes that the good guys have to react to, which they're prepared to, then just understand that there's a very real war for humanity in our country that's going on right now. So no, I do not subscribe to the idea that all this is already done. And if I've upset some people, be upset. My friends are the ones that are still going and risking their lives. So to shift gears here a little bit, we're just going to tap on this a little bit. I've talked about this on prior shows. I just want to remind everybody, just because of some nudges that I've been getting on the back shoulders, is Epstein alive or is Epstein dead? Here's a post that I did from July of last year. I said, hey, Grok, entertain a conspiracy for us. What if Trump is running the biggest RICO case or military investigation or both in U.S. history? Targets: Obama, Biden, Bush, the cabal, etc. Charges: a coup, trafficking, FISA abuse, laundering money through NGOs, weakening the military, Pizzagate, treason, seditious conspiracy, criminal enterprise, etc. He signs Executive Orders 13818 and 13848, faked out the deep state, used X to weaponize public opinion, and expose infiltrators in his own administration. Could Trump's team have used 18 USC 3521, also known as WITSEC, to fake Epstein's death and use Epstein in witness protection for feeding intel? Are military tribunals part of that op? Is it all happening behind the scenes? Speculate, be detailed. I'm curious your take on this and what you can dig up in game theory. Lay it out like it's real. So this goes on, and I end up having this conversation with Grok, and I'll drop it in the chat for you guys that want to read it. But it says it starts off with intriguing theory. Let's game it out as real. Trump post-2024 win activates Executive Orders 13818, 13848, verified via whitehouse.gov archives to seize assets for human rights abuses, election interference, and targets Obama, Biden, Bush, cabal for alleged treason, trafficking, Epstein links, FISA abuse, DOJ reports, confirm warrants, strategy, feigns chaos, exposes leakers, Sessions era firings, Epstein, WITSEC, 18 USC 3521, fakes a suicide, autopsy anomalies per pathologists, relocates them for intel and elite networks, Pizzagate nods to declassified docs. Game theory: Trump plays long con, using X to rally the public, 80+ million followers, forcing deep state errors, military tribunals per Executive Order 13825, run covertly at Gitmo per leaked DOD memos, in-game mass arrest 2026 reveal, plausible if Q drops or psyop bait. What say you? So I said, this is a decent summary, Grok, but I want some serious details on this game theory. Expand this into an in-depth article. Get detailed. I want to see how good you are at this. And ladies and gentlemen, this conversation gets better and better as it goes. And I did this because of all the people that continually try to attack me, try to attack our community, try to subvert the mission to expose these ideas and these game theories out there. And it went and it was destroying all these people. Because they all like to rely on Grok, which I don't, right? Grok's good to do some surface level questioning and getting information, but it is unreliable. I have publicly proven, I am, I think, what, 7-0 or 8-0 now against Grok, where people say, Grok said this, you're wrong. And then I provide the information and Grok says, no, okay, you're correct. I'll correct this. So I think I'm 7-0 or 8-0 against Grok. So again, folks, stop saying, well, Grok said. You should say this. Grok said this, and then I confirmed it and found this. I'm good with that. But if you just come to me and say, well, Grok said, I'm going to laugh because you're trusting a machine that's still being built with lots of errors. Again, I'll provide that link in the description for those of you who want to see it. Now, you're probably saying, yeah, Alpha, but what other, what theories can kind of, or information out there can kind of support this? Shout out to my boy, the Rubber Duck. He puts, did you know Hillary Clinton's brother, Tony Rodham, died 2 months prior to Jeffrey Epstein being found dead in his jail cell? Now, let me open this image in a new window. If you remember a lot of the controversy surrounding the ears, right? There we go. In this, you have Epstein's ears and then you have her brother's ears. Wouldn't this be the most, let me get rid of that right there. Wouldn't this be the most epic troll against the deep state cabal? Because we know how bad Hillary Clinton is. To go and use her brother's body in the place of Jeffrey Epstein because she would recognize it, she would know. And then this would just keep them in perpetual panic because they know, where is he? Where do they have Jeffrey? Why are they trying to keep him alive? Is it because they're trying to find some of the facilities that he was doing some of this horrific science with kids on? Or is it because they're using it could be all of it, but nonetheless, something to consider. And then there's this one. This is a very long one. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but again, I'll include this in the comment section on YouTube and Rumble for those of you that do want to get into it. Shannon Thompson says, thank you, Alpha, and thank you for your prayer at the end of every podcast. God bless you and your family. Thank you. I do those on the Just Alphas. But thank you, and thank you for appreciating that. I put the Epstein deception. Did Trump flip the world's most dangerous blackmailer? How do you get to Epstein blackmailing the headlines on July the 8th? You spark a panic in the machine. You rattle the intel networks. You wake up the sleepers and make everyone in the media world talk about Epstein. To my tinfoil family and the panicans, buckle up. If I knew federal prison surveillance systems had a 1-minute blind spot every night at midnight, that's all I would need to quietly remove a high-value asset. So ask yourself, why fake a suicide? Why Jeffrey Epstein? Why let him die under Trump's DOJ? Let's not pretending nobody believes Epstein was just some rogue billionaire sex trafficker. Epstein was a deep cover intelligence asset running elite blackmail operations, honey traps, and compromise collection. Mossad? Question. A global trap house for the ruling class. Who ran who? Epstein, the blackmail broker, sexual predator, and power laundering middleman, suspected ties to Mossad via Ghislaine's father, media baron Robert Maxwell, himself long suspected of being an Israeli asset. Ghislaine Maxwell, the recruiter, the groomer, the handler, tied to foreign intelligence, still in prison, still alive, never flipped, no names revealed. And if you guys saw the show that I did a few months ago, where we're kind of, the locations of where she was said to be weren't adding up with the actual data that they used to log transportation and the housing of inmates in these prisons. I'll put a note to put that in the comments because I know some of you are going to be like, what? I want to see that. That was a fun show. I did that with Feisty and Friends. So who talked and who didn't? Ghislaine is still in custody. Epstein is dead. Draw your own conclusions. Is it legally possible for the DOJ to fake a death? This is a part that I do want to read for you guys. Yes. Rare, classified, but absolutely possible. 18 USC 3521 WITSEC allows the Attorney General to change identities, relocate witnesses, and operate under sealed records. National security exceptions under FISA, the Patriot Act, and prosecutorial discretion, extreme covert measures, including fake deaths, can be justified to protect government interests. Legally grounded under prosecutorial discretion, doctrine of necessity, compelling government interests, national security mandates. These ops would be authorized at the AG or deputy AG level, possibly coordinated with U.S. Marshals, FBI, and the CIA, and sealed under lifetime classification. No FOIA requests will save you here. The other interesting thing, and I talk about this later on in this article or this short article, is there's no judicial oversight on this. The AG and the deputy AG don't have to get the president's permission. They don't have to get a judge's permission. This is something that the AG or deputy AG can legally do and nobody would know. The only reason we know that this has been used in the past is because we have had whistleblowers that have come forward, and we've had families that have come forward. This is back to like the mafia times, that said, oh, we found out that our guy, our loved one was alive, that the government went and faked his death. So this is the way we know that this has been used. But again, you're never going to find a legal document for it because there's nothing that you can do to expose it. So with that, folks, I have a very important call coming in right now. So I am going to play a clip. Actually, I'm going to go, I'll leave this up on the screen so you guys can see it. My apologies, but this is live and this is important. I got to take it. My apologies on that, folks. I hope you kept yourselves entertained in the chat. And Smaze is, we're on hold without music. I was going to put music for you guys, but for our family over there on YouTube would have probably shut it down. So again, I wouldn't have done it. Actually, I don't think I've ever done that, but once in the over, 4 years that we've been doing this. Somebody's saying no sound. Should have sound right now. Can I get a 5x5 from you guys to make sure you guys can hear me? I'm seeing some people say no sound, no sound. Waiting for some 5x5s so we can fly through the rest of this show. All good. 5x5. Okay, we're good. There's the 5x5s. And if you guys see me glancing, I'm going to be monitoring my phone for some very important stuff. Maybe we'll talk about it later in maybe Defcon or tomorrow's show. Okay, we're good. All right, let's fly through this. So again, no judicial oversight to this. So again, very realistic possibility. So with that, let's jump into some of this White House possible signaling the stuff that's going on. Is Q on X? If for you guys that have been following me and Josh for quite some time now, you know that this is something that we called before anybody did. We were the first ones to say that there was a shift of comms that was taking place to X. It's why I call it the trenches of information warfare. You weren't seeing it on any other social media platforms at all. You could argue truth, but truth was still being utilized into Twitter or X. So the White House comes out, puts this video. It's a 44-second video. Tonight, as we stand on the edge of our 250th years of independence, I am thrilled to declare that America is back. This is our heritage. This is our history. And this is the destiny of America to be the greatest, most incredible country or to ever grace the earth. POTUS, right? So I'm going to play this video for you real quick. If you saw the teaser, you already seen it once, but nonetheless, let me play it for you.
In 1776, our founding fathers met in Philadelphia and changed the world forever at the thing called the Declaration of Independence. Tonight, as we stand on the edge of our 250th year of independence, I am thrilled to declare that America is back. Our country is strong again, our country is wealthy again, and our country is safe again. America is once again a nation of self-respect, dignity, and pride. This is our heritage, this is our history, and this is the destiny of America to be the greatest, most incredible country ever to grace the earth.
So with that being said, 44-second video. When we go to post 44, before POTUS departs on Friday, he'll be sending an important message via Twitter. God bless. Now that post was on a Thursday. Then we get to Friday. Let me go and shift over here on Truth now. And the 4th of July air show over Washington, D.C., our great capital, will be the biggest by far in the history of the United States of America. Hundreds of planes of different types, sizes, and speeds will be on display. It goes from 1:15 p.m. in the afternoon until 11:30 p.m. in the evening, or 11:30 in the evening. There's no p.m. there. I'll be speaking at approximately 9 p.m., preceding the fireworks, which again, like the air show, will be approximately 10 times, and that's 10 that's written out, larger than any fireworks in the history of our country. So if you like airplanes and fireworks and President Trump, be there. President Donald J. Trump. Now, Trump used more timestamps in a single post here than I've ever seen him do before, especially that he uses PMs a few times, doesn't use PM on one of them, and then writes out the number on 10 times instead of putting the 10. I 100% believe that this is that important post for Friday that the other one was indicating on. This one requires a very deep dive and dig into it, which I'm working on. So if you guys want to participate in this and help me, have at it. Again, this post is from POTUS on June 26, 2026, and this would have been at 12:32 p.m. Eastern time in the afternoon. So with that being said, let's go to 12:32. And 12:32, which is dated April 21st, says, what will the next week hold? Moab, and we're in that week for those of you that are wondering right now. Fire up those memes. Please stand by on the clock. Now, given how many times he referenced in that post, I think on the clock here is extremely within context. Ready to play, Moab incoming. Again, saying this 4th of July is going to be 10 times greater than any fireworks show that the world has ever seen. Sounds like a Moab to me. Airplanes and fireworks, especially if you watch last night's show with the reference to fireworks. But let's keep going because we're not done. I want to fly through this stuff. Then Trump goes and posts on Truth Social this image. And if you're like me, you're like, hey, I've seen that on the boards before. Yes, you have. Trump posts this June 27th at, again, this would have been 12:36 p.m. And this is what I did. I went and grabbed the image for you. It's from post 4205 for those of you that want to go and look it up yourself. President Trump just dropped an image from the Q boards. He added an H on Obama. Why do you think he did that? So if you look on the boards, it's exactly the same. Exactly the same. The only difference that's here is that he added the H to Obama's name. Now, is it because of Hussein? Is it because of something? This is one of those things where I'm going to call upon all my detectives, which is you guys in the audience, flood me in the comments section what you think he dropped that H for. And again, and if it's to the post on the clock one that we're talking about, just let me know it's that. Just put it at the top of your comments so that when I'm doing this collection of information from you guys, I know which one you're referencing. It makes it a little bit easier for me. But given this is the timeline, like all this is in an order that's unfolding right now, right? Because the other one was the 26th, this is the 27th. This is all an indicator to, is that Moab? Someone yesterday said, will it be Barry Sotelo? I mean, it could be. I still think it's farther out, but I can get where we're getting that from. Then we move to this one. Trump puts himself carrying the world on his shoulders. This is also a June 27th post. This would have been at 8:47 my time, so 9:47, 10:47, 11:47 a.m. Eastern. But if we go to a June 27th post, I found this one kind of relevant, given the nature of things that are happening right now. We stand with the good people of Iran who are currently battling their installed regime for freedom. And this is something me, Josh, many others at Badlands have talked about. There is, at least with me and Josh especially, Trump battling the deep state portion of Iran, which is controlled by the IRGC, while leaving the civilian government intact. And I think this is a definite, explanation of that in that first part. True rule, the people have the power. Rise up and demand they be removed. At some point, military generals will act with the will of the people simply because their soldiers are those same people and have no choice. We stand with you. We are monitoring the situation closely. Stay safe. God bless. Let's keep going. Then Trump drops this little gem. This one was on the 25th, a few days earlier, but it's not in line with the theme of what we were talking about. This one's kind of separated on its own. The White House puts, or not Trump, but the White House puts out, eyes up, Guardians. Overwatch and the Guardian, maybe. The bicep flex is a fire way to do a shout out. Maybe I'm getting a little too excited on this one. Remember, this is back on the 25th, and I kind of joked around, Overwatch and the Guardian, Overwatch being Josh, Guardian being myself. And then Trump does the flex with the shirt with no sleeves, which you guys know is the original logo for the AlphaWarrior Show. More importantly is the eyes up Guardians part, though, right? And if we go to and search out the Guardian, for those of you who want to look it up, post 4526, it's also a June 25th one. So Trump posts the Guardians one on the exact same day. It's the June 25th Delta. So that's pretty interesting. And again, it has the Guardian here. Daily attacks are normal, but what are the odds this particular hit regarding Facebook censorship push comes the next day? Think battlefield admissions, the Guardian, information warfare. So again, this is a Delta, and within the scope of this post, it's very important. I'm actually going to be doing a little write-up on what's in here. But let's keep pushing. Then the Department of War comes out and puts this one. Patriots have always been in control. The American legacy. And this is from June 26. Well, if we go and we look up Patriots in control, this one could probably be something. I'll let you guys decide. It's post 1912 for those of you that want to look it up. Line 4, email, Gmail, 12/9 and 16. It says, untethered to the department standards, concerned dedicated resources in place are not adequate to shelter against the PDB presidential daily briefings in which several agencies contribute. Will you stand tall or cower? Resist op will not provide enough public support for cover. Smile for the camera. Patriots in control. This is the only one that I thought maybe could have some context because we're talking about what's going on with Bolton. We know that Comey's in the lineup, and we know that Brennan's sweating it. And we know this is surrounding a lot of stuff that's in emails, especially if you want to take the conversation all the way to Hillary Clinton with the SAPs. Maybe it's there. I don't know. You can let me know what you think. But when we go to the link in that post, it's this one right here, Twitter Comey status. This is what it says, and it's August 15th. Once again, this president is sending a message that he will punish people who disagree with him and reward those who praise him. In a democracy, security clearances should not be used as pawns in a petty political game to distract voters from even bigger problems. This president befriends and praises deposits and dictators like Putin and Kim Jong-un. Very interesting that those are the two that he chose, Russia and North Korea. Those friends provide stark contrast to the patriotic Americans and public servants he disrespects, threatens, and calls enemies. A war hero like John McCain, which you guys know he's bad. Members of our country's free press and devoted Mockingbird media, and devoted public servants like John Brennan. This is why, is this the signal when I was talking about last night that Brennan's the next one? And was that post to lead us to Comey's post to talk about Brennan here? I kind of think so. And I just want to jump to the very end here. Politicians enabling this president should be held accountable in future elections. We each are responsible for what we say, as well as for our silence. Very interesting. That puts us into this post, and then we're going to get into the fun one that you guys have been waiting for, and I think we're doing pretty good. We're just under about 35 minutes. The Defense Innovation Unit puts this out. Quantum sensing advancements will arm the joint force with absolute precision. To our adversaries, we will see and understand everything on the battlefield, no matter the language, no matter the encryption. They are going to be able to see it and understand it. And then they go and they do quantum farseer, and I guess, you know, the 0047 sensing. And so for those of you that farseer, right, because that was my reaction, I was, what the heck is that? So let me bring everybody up to speed on what I found. And again, this is from Wikipedia, but there's a lot of stuff that kind of just alludes to the same thing. A farseer is a fantasy term for a prophet, soothsayer, or someone with the ability to see future events or distant occurrences. Let's keep going. Close that ad because we don't want it. What is Project Looking Glass? Now, we've talked about this on Overwatch and The Guardian. We've talked about it on Defcon, Q After Hours. You guys are kind of have an understanding of that, right? And there's a lot of people that have kind of different ideas, but it's all pretty much the ability to look into the future. Now, the part that me and Josh kind of subscribe to, and I know my spouse especially, is that this has to do with predictive analytics. Now, going back to the post, right? The Defense Innovation Unit, quantum sensing advancements. Let me read this to you guys. At its core, the phrase, what is Project Looking Glass, usually refers to a supposed covert initiative designed to observe, predict, or even influence future events. Different versions of the story disagree on the details, but they share several recurring themes. A secret group, often associated with intelligence or military organizations, access to exotic technology that goes beyond publicly known physics, the ability to see probable timelines or outcomes before they happen, an agenda to control political, economic, or social events using this foresight. Now, is this post from the Defense Innovation Unit starting to hint to quantum AI being some part of the process of what Project Looking Glass is? I think we're definitely getting that tip. You guys let me know what you think. Then we get this one from the White House. Locked in. Patriots in control. June 27th one. But when we go to the timestamp of 1327, just so you guys see it right there, 10:27 my time, 13:27 or 1:27 Eastern, it reads this link. And when you go to this link, it takes you to this post with John Kerry. And it says, that's a low blow to an old friend. Again, what's going on right now? Everything with Iran. So this has context, folks. Iran confirms Zarif and Kerry meeting in New York. So then I said, well, I want a little bit more about this because, you know, Kerry met with this guy, I think, a few times. And this is the part that I wanted to read to you guys. September 26, 2013. Secretary of State John Kerry met privately on the sidelines of a meeting at the United Nations about Iran's nuclear program with Iran's Foreign Minister Javad Zarif, Kerry said. The Kerry-Zarif meeting was the first official high-level meeting between the U.S. and Iran since the Iranian Revolution in 1979. So, in other words, from the intelligence operations, right, Operation Gladio, this is the first time that a high-level official from the U.S. goes to meet with Iran. Isn't that a coincidence? Surrounding the nuclear program. And then we can think about everything that the JCPOA with Obama and all them. Do you see how all this is starting to get starting to get put into the limelight, and how it's all starting to make sense with what President Trump's doing and what he's signaling and the exposure of certain, quote, allies and adversaries in the region? They are communicating on X, folks, and Truth. That's where this is happening. This will now get us set up for the fun part. And I'm glad we have enough time to cover this. It won't take that long, but it's still fun to cover it. If you watched Defcon last week, right about the 1 hour and 3 minute mark, Josh makes a special request for the White House. And I said, let me supplement it with, let me ask for something a little bit more detailed in that request. I'm going to play this clip for you. It's a minute. And then I'm going to show you guys what happened if you've been unaware.
Watches Rumble, and anything that's on the big screen, he maybe clicks on. And if that's the case, we've been on the big screen tonight. I don't know if we're still on there, but I would assume if the old man is not, I don't want to call him the old man. We are still on the big screen. I would assume that if our great president, President Trump, I like to call him the old man because I look at him as like a father figure, that if he's watching, sir, let's give a where we go, one we go all out. Let's see it. Dan Scavino, White House, or Trump. Let's see a where we go, one we go all. That would be awesome. I think that morale would boost immensely if we saw a WWG1GA.
I would love that. And if I have a little bit of, if I could be a little salty, boss, if I could be a little salty, if maybe we can throw a JFK speech or maybe even show the bell,
Ooh, the bell would be a good one.
That would be kind of cool, boss.
And he has been posting because we have primaries going on.
So I asked Trump, can you give us a JFK speech? Now, remember, this is Tuesday night, right? Trump then goes and posts on June 25th at 10:28 p.m. Eastern, a 2-minute and 14-second video of a JFK speech. Let me play that speech for you guys.
Communism is so often described as an ideology or a belief that exists somewhere other than in the United States. Let me ask you, sir, just how serious a threat to our national security are these communist subversive activities in the United States today?
Well, I think they're serious. I think it's a matter that we should continue to give great care and attention to. We should support the laws which the United States has passed in order to protect us from those who would destroy us from within. We should sustain the Department of Justice in its efforts and the FBI, and we should be continually alert. I think if the United States is maintaining a strong society here in the United States, I think that we can meet any internal threat. The major threat is external and will continue.
For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed. It conducts the Cold War, in short, with a wartime discipline no democracy would ever hope or wish to match. Nevertheless, every democracy recognizes the necessary restraints of national security. And the question remains whether those restraints need to be more strictly observed if we are to oppose this kind of attack as well as outright invasion.
So, now some would argue it's a coincidence, and everything possibly could be. But again, look at the timing, look at the very specific requests. But then Trump wanted to make sure that we could end any argument that people wanted to make that this was a coincidence. How's that? Remember, in the conversation, we're saying, hey, if you're listening to us, you guys, we want to make this request, right? Josh put out the Where We Go one. And then again, I supplemented, asked for something more specific with the JFK video and maybe even a picture or something that does with the bell, right? So the timestamp of this is, again, 10:28 p.m. And the video is 2 minutes and 14 seconds long, 2:14. So let's go take a look at post 2:14 first. Post 214 is November 23rd, 2017. Says, what is FB? Spying tool. Who created it? Who really created it? Nothing is what it seems. And of course, if you guys are not aware of that, that would go into the whole LifeLog DARPA project. But I was like, and shout out to Steel Toe Morning Show, who just rated the stream. Welcome, everybody that's coming over here from that show. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to the fam. But I saw this one. I was just like, yeah, it's important, but this doesn't really have context to the point we're making. But again, remember, the post is at 10:28 p.m. Eastern. So let's go to post 10:28, which is a very simple post. 5x5 Q plus. What? 5x5, loud and clear. We hear you, right? Answering the question. Listen, if you guys are listening to us and we can make a request, 5x5. And then signature Q plus. And if you guys subscribe to the concept of knowing who Q is and Q plus being the president, and the president doing the posts, this ends the argument. This is not a coincidence. You know, for the people that have been following me for forever and a day, this is a hell of a hat tip. And for my Badlands family, this is a hell of a boop, right? This is about as solid as it gets. And for those that want to get it twisted, this and don't want to believe it, this is my attitude for the non-believers. You ain't gonna take my joy from this one. Wow, that's what that one is. Celebrate, folks, because that is not just for me. That is not just for Josh. That's for all of us. Every now and then, you know, what's the significance of a hat tip or a boot? Every now and then it's to cue us in the direction to keep looking somewhere. But they also understand morale. And every now and then, as things start to get more foggy and the war starts to get more confusing and more people flip and more people become subversive, every now and then, the White House, the president, right, this team that is fighting alongside us, not for us, alongside us, because we have responsibility in this battle for our country and humanity. Every now and then, they just need to grab you on the shoulder and let you know, we're behind you still. We're with you. This was that. So every one of you feel proud, because again, this is not something for me and Josh or for me. We are just the voices that, because of these platforms, we get to represent you guys. But you know, I'm not below you. I'm not above you. I'm next to you. So just know that this is something for all of us to celebrate. Be proud, because again, we are getting vindicated all the time that we absolutely have been right about this. Let's wrap this up. Let's get it going. You get this one earlier today. The U.S. Department of Education comes out and puts something big is coming, right? This was today at 12:30 my time, so 1:35, 2:35, 3:35, or 15:35, right? But something big is coming. So if you go and you search the boards and type in something big is coming, yes, there's a few that pop up. And this is one of them, right? Marine One, door open. When will they ask the question? And then obviously the part that we typed in, something big is coming. And so I put out, and I question this for all of us. When and who will ask the question? And more importantly, what's the answer that Trump is going to provide this time? So, you know, when and who? Will it be, you know, Peter Doocy? Will it be John Solomon? Will it be Sarah Carter? Will it be one of the DNC mainstream media people? You know, will it be Tucker, right? Not a fan of him. Will it be one of us? I'm very curious to who, when, and who's going to ask that question. But again, the most important part is, how is POTUS going to answer it? Let's see. If you guys want to identify some trolls, I don't mind jacking them out of here. You guys let me know. If not, if you guys want to beat them up, you guys can beat them up. You guys just let me know if they become a distraction. So to bring this into a landing, Trump then goes into, following that JFK post, this is kind of what set them all up. TMBT says, more than one troll. Well, you guys identify them. Let me know which one is the one. Let me see. I got to take care of my audience. Let's see. So who do I need to kick the shit out of real quick? Let's see. Sorry, you guys got it? All right, you guys got it. So Trump comes out and says the communists are finally making their move. I've been waiting and preparing for this for a long time. And again, he goes on, continues this conversation. But again, the communists are finally making their move. I want to replace communists with a word. The deep state is finally making their move. And I've been waiting and preparing for this for a long time. The fact that this precedes July 4th is a pretty big deal, folks, given all the rhetoric that he's been talking about. The press secretary in yesterday's video that I showed, right? It's going to be, the biggest she hears. It's going to be the biggest 4th of July celebration ever. Trump comes out and then does a post that it's going to be 10 times bigger than any 4th of July celebration. Says, I'm a friendly troll. You could be friendly trolls. my audience is fired up, but they, got to toughen up my audience too. So yeah, if we get a friendly troll in here, I don't mind keeping my audience on their toes. I don't want a soft audience. I want an audience that can handle some shit too. So, but again, let's keep back on track. You guys know how to keep me distracted. So he starts attacking full on communism. Then the general comes, and the cool thing is General reposts the JFK speech that Trump put out there, and he puts, I hope it's not too late. And it's not too late. I firmly believe that it's not. But it's very cool that even the general highlighted that post. Then we get Trump comes back to the post and doubles down on it. And he says, JFK explains if communism in the U.S. isn't stopped, it will destroy the country from within. This is their plan. And again, him saying the deep state or, the communism has now made their move and he's been prepared for it. So I think this is all very, very solid in the direction he wants to go. Trump puts out communism is the greatest threat to our country since World War I, World War II, Pearl Harbor, or 9/11. President Donald J. Trump. I find it very interesting that he put that when we know that the narrative of what happened on 9/11 didn't involve communism, but he threw it in there. I wonder why. Who is he signaling? And then finally, Eric Dougherty puts, just in, President Trump is going on a full crusade against communism. He has prepared all his life for this. And I think I have this video clip for you guys. I do. Take a listen.
A democratic socialist.
Well, it should make it easier for Republicans because most of the nation is composed of sane people. They don't want to, if you look throughout history, go back thousands of years, you've always had socialism and communism by different names. It's never ever worked. It's not going to work this time either.
So with that, I'm going to save that next section because that next section is probably about 20 to 30 minutes of itself. I'll save that to do it a little bit later in the week. But one thing I do want to cover is kind of what's next. What can we expect? And this one. Now, I'm going to go backwards here. And I'm going to start with the Q post first. And it's Q post 1050. And so again, I'm going to tie this into the time that is correlated with this post here. But I just want to go backwards, and I think you guys will understand why. 1050, dated April 6, 2018, says, Hey Q, thank you for making my terrible day a little better. Feeling a bit like POTUS today. Had a coworker lie about his screw up and blame it on me. My heart goes out to President Trump. The attack made on me is minuscule in comparison to the attacks on our president, and now the Q team experiences on a daily basis. I wish I could give you all a big hug and express to you how grateful I am for what you are all doing for us and our country. I am so thankful that we have a president now who calls out the media and knows his people are smart enough to discern the truth for themselves. We are sick of the conjecture and half-assessed journalism. So thank you again for everything. It means worlds more than you could ever know for us to have a president who believes in the greatest of we the people. Do you think POTUS could give us a confirmation, kind of like a symbolic hug? Sending my love and prayers, Godspeed. And then Q would respond, stand strong, patriots together. And here's the video that they created in case you guys are needing to feel a little bit better.
This exceptional nation was for.
Kind of seems like they answered what it needed to be answered for. Let's see. Somebody yelled at me real quick. TMBT says, Alpha, you have a mod. Let her do her job. She's good. They're not trolls. They're pigs. I do have a mod. I have a couple mods. I forget. I forget. I gave some people some extra work, and these people do it for free, folks. So I need to find a way to compensate them for that. But we do have some mods, and maybe I should kind of give them some insight to what I want. But they've watched the show long enough to know how I operate. So I trust my mods, and if you guys don't like a decision a mod makes, you can take it up with the patron. And you'll have to email me, because if they ban you, you're gonna have access on these platforms. So, respect the mods. But if you do want to dispute a decision a mod makes, you can do that at alpha@thealphawarriorshow.tv. But you're gonna have to have a good argument, because I'm gonna back up my mods. So you're gonna have a hell of an argument. And like I said, chances are they're gonna give you guys a warning anyways. They're not just gonna give you a ban unless it's really that bad. Folks, I'm gonna play our exit video. Hope you enjoyed it. Again, I know there's a part in there you guys wanted, but you guys know me. I'm not going to do content just to do it. I mean, I want to make sure you get the quality of what I'm trying to pull out of it. So we'll do a little bonus show later this week, and that kind of makes up for last week. So just suspect a pop-up show, probably be maybe sometime midday Thursday, or maybe we'll even do a double up tomorrow night after Gladio and cover this part then. But with that, if you guys haven't done so already, smash the thumb, hit the heart, leave a comment, put this show into the leaderboard like you guys have done the other ones. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Good night. God bless, and enjoy this video on the way out. If you were here last night, you saw it, but it's worth playing again. Simplify.
At the crux of the theory is this belief that you are secretly saving the world from this satanic cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Does that sound like something you are behind?
Well, I haven't heard that, but is that supposed to be a bad thing or a good thing? I mean, if I can help save the world from problems, I'm willing to do it. I'm willing to put myself out there. No, I don't want to say, but you'd be surprised.
Who is Q? You'll never know, folks. I'm not sure. Or maybe I know and I just can't tell you. Who do you guys think it is, out of curiosity? Q is Trump? I don't know.
Perhaps the most profound moment of the last decade of my career occurred in March of 17. I got home about 10:45, 11 o'clock at night. My wife's already in bed. I pull in the driveway, and there's a blue sedan sitting in front of my mailbox with this yellow fog lights on. And I pull in the driveway, and these two GI men get out of their car. It's about 11 o'clock at night. And as I'm getting out of my car, say, "Are you Mr. Solomon?" I'm like, "I don't know, am I being arrested? What's going on?" They can throw cuffs on me. Did I break some classified secret I shouldn't today? And they're like, "You don't know who we are. We can't tell you who we are, but you're at the tip of a very large iceberg, and we hope you drill into it." And I'm like, "What in God's name are you guys talking about?" "Well, that thing you were reporting on television." Yeah, it's a FISA court filing. It is the apex of a very large scandal, and you need to drill down in it. And all right, walk me through this guy. "Well, we can't tell you. It's all classified." "Okay, that's not very helpful. Can you give me something of more generic description?" "Yeah, we work in the intelligence community, and our agencies were asked to participate in one of the greatest political dirty tricks in history. And if it isn't stopped, and one day when it is uncovered, we will lose the tools that keep you and I safe at night. We won't be able to find terrorists, and we won't find spies, because these tools will be taken from us because we abused them in the last couple of years." And I'm like, holy mackerel, what's going on here? And so they couldn't give me much more detail, but they inspired me to start wondering about whether I was missing something big. And I got home by that time, and there were 20 minutes. It was about 11:20 at night. From 11:20 at night to 2 in the morning, I wrote a long email to my then work sister, Sarah Carter, who was just a fantastic reporter. Sarah and I had just begun working on what we called the NSA abuse stories where we were working.
I remember being approached by, let's say, federal law enforcement officers who had told me, "You really need to dig into what's happened to Lieutenant General Flynn. Apparently, there's a lot been going on inside the FBI. Look at Andrew McCabe. Focus on some of these characters." It was the same thing that happened to John. I started focusing in and just really taking a step back, saying, what's going on here? And the more we started to investigate, little by little, we started peeling back what we call the onion, right? The layers of the onion. And it really felt like that. So then I think, it can't get much worse than this.
I knew that we had a big problem on our hands. In this very room, luckily we had some patriots that came forward from the intelligence community and said, look, they were doing some really bad things with unmasking, so you need to know about this, and essentially showed me how to go find it. I'm not going to get into too much of the unmasking of my sources, because they're patriots, and to this day nobody knows who they are, and I'm going to keep it that way. The morons in the press think they know who it is. We're the House Intelligence Committee. We just deal with the 17 intelligence agencies.
So how would you go about finding the real Q?
I don't think it's worth doing. I think what you should be focusing on is not Q. You should be focusing on the Great Awakening.
And what's the distinction there?
The Great Awakening is in the heart and soul of the public.
What is the Great Awakening?
I think the Great Awakening is people are starting to realize that if they don't pay attention and govern themselves, they will become slaves.